people that are not natural born citizens of this country to represent the natural born citizens of this country? Do we think that people that have openly said that their allegiance lies with another country are going to represent you and I and everybody else? That's an absurd thought, and we all know it's not true. So when are we going to wake the fuck up and quit allowing people to come here from other countries who are not citizens to serve in our government and make policy that does not represent the United States taxpayer? When are we going to wake up and fix that? Because that's the actual problem here, and nobody wants to say it. These people do not belong here. When you bring third world people to America, they don't magically convert into American culture. They bring over all the savagery that they have lived with their entire lives here to your backyard. And the reason they're allowed to do that is because people who never have to deal with the consequences of these actions continue to fucking allow it.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Asking Congresswoman Craig to initiate an ethics investigation into Congresswoman Omar because of questions about federal tax fraud, federal immigration fraud, federal student loan fraud, and state violations of perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and acts of campaign fraud abuse in Boston, Washington, New York, Chicago, and Florida. There are also violations of state ethics or of the Minnesota House ethics rules regarding colleges for speeches she gave while she was in partial control of their budgets as a member of the House Higher Education Finance Committee in both 2017 and 2018. She was found guilty of the violations by the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board 3 weeks ago in order to return those funds on June 6th. Ms. Omar appears to be a serial career criminal and should not have access to our nation's highest secrets and intelligence. That is why I'm calling on our Congresswoman Angie Craig to protect both our national security and our respect of the rule of law. Tax fraud, immigration fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and campaign abuse fraud from the East Coast to the Mississippi River. If those
And oh man, I had to repeat that, y'all. Trump just gonna say it how it is, man. I had to repeat it, y'all. Trump just gonna say it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? He gonna tell you what it is. And if you don't like it, that's too god doggone bad. The truth hurts feelings. They hide from the truth. They duck from the truth. They run away from the truth. They just don't want to hear the truth. But oh boy, Ilhan Omar, once again, here we go again. I don't know how many times we got to go down this rabbit hole, expose it in broad daylight, you know. But like I've been saying, they should have been made an example out of that heifer. Revoke that heifer, deport that heifer then. Hell. Trump says supposedly she married her brother. Be honest, I ought to just kick her the hell out. Man. We actually got a president, y'all. You know, that actually speaks to the reporters, whether you like the way he talks to them, responds to them. Hey, it's the hell with reporters, these journalists, the fake news media. We got darn sick of y'all. Just as Trump is sick of y'all, we sick of y'all too. The American people are sick of y'all. Y'all disrespectful, you know. It's just 99% negative towards Trump, and it's been like that for years. So it's the hell with y'all. The hell with the CNNs, all the mainstream media news, the hell with them all. We've had enough. The people have had enough, man. You know, and a lot of this corruption, all this fraud, some of the biggest scandals, a lot of the stuff that's coming in from the Democrat Party, a lot of this stuff would have never been exposed if honestly, if that man didn't open his mouth, huh? A lot of this stuff came out through President Trump, and a lot of a lot of people been talking about it, but Trump put a lot of this stuff in the spotlight. Let's be honest. A lot of things that we are covering and talking about now, and a lot of the fraud, corruption, some of the, not even just from the border, but just everything. A lot of this stuff wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for President Trump. That's just my opinion.
What
All
if
right,
I
Dr.
told you that
Steve.
President Trump just publicly accused a sitting congresswoman of marrying her own brother to enter the country, and Department of Homeland Security insiders say they've got the receipts to prove it? But here's what nobody saw coming. It's not just Trump going after her. Her own community in Minnesota is publicly calling her out. The same people who helped elect her are now turning their backs on her. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this moment is so different from every other time someone tried to take down Ilhan Omar, and why the walls are finally closing in.
What?
Hey gang, it's me, desperately tries to stop the unstoppable. If you want a front row seat on how you're changing the button, President Ilhan Omar, and on third world migrants as a whole. During a press conference on Air Force One the other day, Trump said this.
Frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman who goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into a country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
Now, of course, this is not the first time that President Trump has made this claim that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get in the country. If you don't know, these are allegations that appear to have originated from an anonymous post on a Somali American internet forum back in 2016, and they've circulated ever since. Omar married a man by the name of Ahmed Elmi back in 2009. He's a British citizen who attended North Dakota State University, and he studied the fine arts, but very little is actually known about him. They ended up divorcing, and then when she had a child with her new husband, there were apparently Instagram posts from Elmi, her first husband, calling Ilhan Omar's newborn daughter his niece, implying that he was Omar's brother. And it was a weird marriage. It appeared to be a marriage of convenience and obviously didn't last long. But the problem is that thus far, there's no definitive proof that Elmi is Omar's brother. In other words, we do have a marriage certificate for sure. They were married, but there's no birth certificate. There's no immigration record. There's no definitive legal document that has thus far surfaced proving Elmi is Omar's brother. And of course, the legacy media isn't even the least bit curious on it. A few weeks back, Benny Johnson claimed he received information from high-level contacts at the Department of Homeland Security, indicating that they have clear evidence Elmi is Omar's brother, but he has yet to produce those docs. Regardless, it was a very strange marriage with a lot of unanswered questions, and that's precisely what President Trump is politically exploiting. And of course, he's doing that as part of his overall rationale for permanently suspending all immigration from third world countries and ordering green cards from what he calls 19 countries of concern, including Somalia, to all be re-examined. Now, this is coming on the wake of the shooting of the two young members of the West Virginia National Guard who were conducting a routine patrol near Farragut Square in downtown D.C., just blocks from the White House. The suspect in that shooting is an Afghan national who entered the United States back in September 2021 through Joe Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program, which was the disastrous resettlement effort following the equally catastrophic Afghanistan withdrawal back in August of that year. But Trump responded to that shooting in what many believe to be his most amazing and consequential statement of both his presidencies, where he voiced the sentiments, the outrage of the vast majority of the country in declaring not only is he suspending all third world migration, but he's going to be kicking out every single third world migrant who's living off of the American taxpayer and who's not making a positive contribution to the national welfare of our country. And all the polling that's being done on that is revealing that that is the single most popular issue of all for Trump. This is exactly what the American people have been craving for years. Real presidential leadership that's finally going to restore sanity to our immigration process. And this is where Ilhan Omar comes in. This is precisely why Trump is focusing so much of his attention and his energy on Omar and her particular Minneapolis district. Wait until you see this. But there is absolutely something. You should the site of the biggest COVID-era fraud scandal ever. The FBI just charged its 78th defendant in the Feeding Our Future fraud case. Federal prosecutors say criminals exploited a COVID-era child nutrition program, claiming to feed thousands of kids per day, but it was all a fraud. The meals never existed. According to the Department of Justice, the scheme stole more than $250 million from American taxpayers. You heard that right, $250 million. Here's how brazen it was. Safari Restaurant in Minneapolis, a place that seats maybe 35 people, reportedly claimed to be serving millions of meals. The restaurant's owner, Salim Saeed, claimed to be serving 5,000 children per day, 7 days a week. Needless to say, he was recently found guilty on all counts, according to the New York Times.
Y'all really thought y'all was going to get away with that? Not that I keep rehearing it. It's like, man, it really is a laughing stock. Y'all ought to be ashamed of y'allself, man. Real.
Prosecutors say all but 8 of the 86 people charged thus far in connection with fraud cases in Minnesota are of Somali descent, with millions of dollars being sent back to Mogadishu. And here's the kicker. Some of that money may have ended up in the hands of a group called Al-Shabaab, which is an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group. CBS News reported that federal prosecutors are investigating whether taxpayer funds meant to feed Minnesota children ended up funding terrorism abroad. But it's not just about fraud anymore. According to an investigation by the Heritage Foundation, Ilhan Omar recently gave a speech in Somali to a Minneapolis crowd where she said, and this was independently translated, quote, "While I am in Congress, no one will take Somalia's seat. While I am in Congress, no one will take Somalia's seat." So she basically told the audience that America will do what Somalis in the United States tell it to do, implying that she's in Washington to basically act on behalf of Somalia's interests, hence why she does so much to undermine our own. But here's what's truly remarkable. Her own community is starting to push back. The people who elected her, many of them, have had enough. Now, many are arguing that the recent failed candidacy of Omar Fateh, he was the enthusiastically endorsed mayor or candidate for mayor in Minneapolis, this so-called Somali socialist. He was enthusiastically endorsed by Ilhan Omar. He, of course, ended up losing. And many are arguing that that shows a weakening of support for Omar because they were basically identical and she was pictured with him all over the place. That also includes the fact that the 2024 election results showed Omar underperforming other Democrats by about 32,000 votes. So there's clearly a weakening of support among her constituents. In fact, after Fateh's loss, social media exploded with posts saying Minneapolis voters were increasingly rejecting Omar's extreme left identity politics. But Trump isn't waiting around for Minneapolis voters to get their act together. He's announced he is ordering the re-examination of green cards from 19 countries of concern, including Somalia, and he's also moved to end TPS, temporary protected status, for Somalis in Minnesota. In the meantime, the indictments keep coming. More and more fraud gets exposed, and for the first time, a sitting president is saying the quiet part out loud and promising that finally There will be consequences for decades of failed immigration policies. President Trump and the supermajority of Americans are done playing, and Ilhan Omar is about to find that out the hard way.
Oh boy.
If you love
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I tell you, man. That's what I'm telling you. We're just gonna sit back and just watch how all this play out, man. You know, we've seen what's going on down there. We've been calling it out for so long. You know, people have had enough, man. The American people, we the people, are not stupid as well. You know, taxpayers are hotter than fish grease, man. The American people are hotter than fish grease. All we want is accountability, transparency, accountability, and affordability. That's it, man. That is it.